Hello there. Facebook should be charged with participating in an organized criminal group, and I'm not even exaggerating. Okay, maybe calling it an organized group is a bit of a stretch, but the rest is true. It's their fault that they scammed, or at the very least tried, you, your parents, grandparents, close and distant friends. Today, I'll talk about the absolute workings of Meta's products, about how they are banning my peers who try to fight cybercrime. In my opinion, that makes Meta nothing else but criminal fixers. Let's go! Just like every human needs air to live, a social network needs users. The more of them are, the more of their friends they invite, and the whole machine continues to spin. And when you have a lot of users, it means you can make bank on selling advertisements. It's a simple, widely known mechanism. As such, portals of this kind don't really have any incentives to fight against, say, fake accounts. After all, they make that user count rise, even when they do it only virtually. But such accounts and other kind of bots can be used to fool the network's other users. Thus, fighting against such behavior should, in theory, be in everybody's interest. Yours, mine, institutions such as Sears, CISA, cybersecurity specialists from left to right, and, well, that's the problem. Whose side is Meta on? Is it ours or the criminals? A fairly atypical situation happened at the last year's Oh My Hack, the biggest cybersec conference in Poland. Seared Orange Poland Piotr Zarzycki and Seared Poland Paweł Srokosz joined forces on stage. They were talking about the various ways scammers fish for their victims on Facebook. One of them is the stolen car con. It's a very popular around the world, if still pretty rare in Poland, but it's likely only a matter of time before it gains traction here. What is it about? Someone posts on Facebook that their car was stolen, asking for help in finding it, wanting to know the who's, where's, what's, and when's. Maybe someone saw something, maybe somebody can help. It happens. Soon enough, comments begin to appear promising they'll find the car in the blink of an eye, even if it had no GPS tracking device. How? Who knows? After all, it's probably a trade secret. Hello? Of course, the extended helping hand is boosted by a great number of accounts who confirm they've had this service provided for them, legitimizing it. They even show some photos. All right, but where's the con? And how do you even make money from it? Well, the answer is much simpler than many of you would anticipate. These scammers want payment upfront, in cryptocurrency, of course, and then they disappear. If in the meantime you ask questions and start to have doubts about paying, they'll make sure to send you a bunch of photos that don't really prove anything. It's a phishing for suckers. This probably won't be much of a surprise to you, but those helpful profiles use stolen photos and identities to seem more legitimate. But hey, Facebook fights against such activities, right? Well, not exactly, because when people whose photos were stolen learned that they are being used to scam others, they obviously reported this for impersonation. In turn, Meta did absolutely nothing about it, and the con goes on. More than that, Piotr didn't hesitate to talk to these common thieves. Most of them wouldn't speak to him, but one conman responded to a Telegram message without a cavalcade of insults. The thief even revealed some tricks of the trade and openly admitted that sure, Facebook might ban some accounts every now and then, but the guy's got more of them, so it doesn't really matter. As far as his work goes, this is barely an inconvenience. He even bragged that he's the boss of a whole gang with about 20 employees under him and that they have about 1,000 victims daily. That's just one example. There's hundreds of profiles like his promising not only to recover cars, but also stolen bicycles or impersonating large companies' customer services. One example, airlines promising help in recovering lost luggage, or even offering to sell entire pallets of abandoned luggage, like it's a lottery. All of these guys simply use bots which scan Facebook and look for keywords in the kind of posts they look under. Does anyone fall to this? Reportedly, yes. Sure, on the one hand, it might just be a bunch of dumb brags. On the other, if there weren't any victims, nobody would try the con, especially on such a scale. Because altogether, the game is for big sums reaching dozens of thousands of dollars from just one victim. Why so much? Well, once someone realizes that they've been made once, twice, thrice, and the money starts ballooning, very soon someone pops up promising they'll recover the lost money. See, they're a legal office specializing in such cases or even some super secret cyber police agent. All you've got to do is to leave a down payment or move the money to a definitely very secure location so that the cops can use it as a bait. Of course, it ends with the victim losing money. Again, these scammers have no shame, using even obituaries to create supposed live streams from funerals for people who can't participate in person. All you have to do is pay, for which you get nothing. But there is a second category of scams, one we're probably more familiar with. I'm talking about all those advertisements promising incredible riches from investing in Tesla or some other company. They often talk about a passive income in the thousands, and if Donald Trump himself is giving it his stamp of approval, who wouldn't buy it? Other times, celebrities and politicians are used to promote them in tandem with breaking news headlines. It may look like nothing but simple misinformation, but in reality, the goal is to make you curious and click the link. Any doubts? A quick internet search will often lead you to websites where multiple reviews confirm that yes, this is all legit and that particular rainbow leads to a pot of gold. Just don't tell anyone. Make this our little secret. Sometimes you can even find a podcast on YouTube where the confirmation comes from Elon Musk himself. An investment so good that there's barely any point in developing Tesla anymore. I'm telling you, it's better to just pump crypto into some shady wallet. And if a deepfake of big time Elon says so, it would be stupid not to click, right? Another factor is that such advertisements sometimes look as if they redirect us to well known addresses, such as the aforementioned news portals. It must be truly shocking then to some people when a click sends them to entirely new, unknown websites. Yep, that's real. The web address above the ad can be just typed in by the advertiser, and it doesn't have to match with where said ad actually leads to. By the way, it's really great that Meta allows this since scamming wasn't so easy enough already. This is why you should never trust an ad and preferably just block them entirely. Scammer has plenty of similar tricks in their arsenal. For example, they can be serving up one side for the purpose of passing the moderation, but a different one to their victims. However, I won't be talking about how they do it so as not to give any thieves ideas. If you fall for the con, you'll find yourself at a website pretending to be an actual well-known news site, where you'll learn about some incredible opportunity and find a form. All you have to do is give your phone number and in a blink of an eye, you'll be a millionaire, or at the very least, a person of leisure. Afterwards, it's all a formality. A consultant will call you to try and convince you that all you have to do is make a money transfer so that he can double, hell, 10 times the sum. Then, bang, info comes in that you got so much money, you might as well drop a bit more just so you can have a Rolex on every appendage and swim in a cash like you're Scrooge McDuck. It's a known scheme, one which causes people losses in the hundreds of thousands. But what's next? Well, what do you think? Once the victim realizes they've been made, they'll get ads about the arrest of the very same crime organization that robbed them. And now, say, a law firm is looking for their victims. As you can guess, by now, it's another spin of the scam carousel, and the next step is payment upfront for the service. Other ads focus on fake crowdfunding for flood victims or pseudo medicine made of ills which grant immortality. There's a ton of it. All right, but there are tools to fight these kind of things. I mean, you can report such profiles and ads, right? Sure, you can. But what does even happen after? And why is it basically nothing? Firstly, you have to pick what's the actual problem from a long list, and whole process is really annoying. For example, when reporting a fake profile, you have to precisely point out who is being impersonated. Facebook even provides a list of suggestions, but very often that list features other fake profiles. There's so many of them, it's hard to decide what to pick. It also pretty much doesn't matter because whatever you pick, Facebook won't delete Jack. Well, almost anything, because they did respond to a couple of such reports submitted by researchers, but we're talking about literally a few examples. And those mean very little in the grand scheme of things. In almost 90% of cases, these reports were resolved with the explanation that the ad wasn't removed because they don't actually breach any of Facebook advertising standards, which really tells you everything about those standards. Also tried to analyze how these ads land on their timelines because, shockingly, you can check that. Facebook can explain to you why you're getting this ad and not another one. The whole idea is based on a service called the ad library, which, surprise, also doesn't really work. Those fake ads don't even appear there. Why? Because the library does not synchronize in real time. You can't really take a proper look at what's going on at Facebook because Facebook only plays pretend at transparency, skimping on such aspects. Fortunately, this wasn't the only presentation on this subject at the last Oh My Hack. Jakub Mrugalski, who knows a bit or two, tackled the same issue from a slightly different angle. According to Jakub, reporting all those shady ads only causes more shady ads to appear. Why? Because Facebook tracks almost everything. It checks what we're looking at, what we click, where we hover our mouse pointers over. So, by that logic, if we spend so much time on spam ads and reporting, this clearly means we're interested in them. Easy. Alright, but at least someone's going to remove them, right? Right? Well, don't get your hopes up. Jakub tested that as well, and from the 38 ads he reported, exactly none of them were deleted. So the statistic is even worse than what the combined forces of both searches achieved. Meta didn't see anything wrong with the reported ads. Once again, they allegedly did not infringe upon community standards. Alright, but until now we were talking about reporting harmful content after it's published. But there is also verification process before they get anywhere. Everyone who has ever bought any sort of ad in Meta's products and got them rejected for unknown reasons knows about it. So how do scammers pass such intricate analysis? Well, ads are verified automatically immediately after they are added, and sometimes there's an additional human check after they are published. But there is a way to bypass the process. You just have to spend a lot of money. People who pour a lot of cash into ads are eventually marked as trusted by default, and their stuff gets published instantly. The content is only verified later, just in case, because you can't make things harder for someone who spends a fortune on your products. This is why ads aren't just an attack vector, but also a reason to be attacked. What does that mean? See, advertisers, especially those fat cats spending busloads of money in Meta, are targeted by different types of attacks. Attempts to take over their accounts and abuse their good reputation. Scammers will impersonate support agents and write to such people about their accounts being blocked for some reason, or that they are interested in their products and want to invest some cosmic sum in them. The idea is very similar. Just click the link, download this file and run it. Easy, because of course it's easy. But the best case scenario is that you lose money. The worst, you lose the account, which is used to scam others, since it's such a good way to proliferate malware. Jakub managed to even find such a file and analyze it. What's inside? See, it's an archive, marked as a RAR file, but in reality, it's a zip with a changed extension. It also weighs quite a lot, but only virtually. In reality, majority of that file size are just extra spaces. Why is it done? So that the file don't alarm the antivirus software due to their wrong metadata and bloated size. After unpacking, a script is launched which installs the actual malware. Its objective is to steal all data from the web browser, saved credentials, cookies, tokens. This way, Facebook accounts are taken over and used to send spam and try to, for example, scam all your friends by asking for a Venmo. And no, two-factor authentication will not save you. It's the reason tokens and cookies are stolen as well, since those often make your browser a trusted one. The criminals simply use them to pretend to be you, which means Facebook won't even ask for the login and password. Shockingly, Facebook actually fights against such content. It doesn't matter though. Said messages are still visible in Messenger and the links inside them still work. So a potential victim is still at risk. But it does tell us everything about who is important to Facebook from a business standpoint and who isn't at all. Alright, but in Poland there is a businessman, Rafał Brzoska, CEO of the country's biggest logistics company, who has won a suit against Meta about fake ads. Him and his wife, Omena Mensa, became protagonists of such deepfake adverts against their will, and they won't stand for that. Because he can afford it, Brzoska most likely put a whole stable of lawyers to work, and at the end of the day, the president of the Personal Data Protection Office forbade Meta from publishing ads using the couple's likeness on Facebook and Instagram. Did this change anything? Well, so far it has changed nothing. Those posts still appear, but blatant disregard for such a direct man can mean serious financial penalties under EU's laws. We're talking about entire percentages of Meta's income, not just on the national, but world scale. In Meta's case, these are likely sums equivalent to a solid chunk of UK yearly GDP. I wonder if they will be executed. Meta published a statement of its own, but there's no really easy way to find it, since it doesn't appear on the news lists. You need a direct link, which of course you'll find in the sources underneath this video. What did they write? Obviously, the usual. Your safety is their biggest priority and all that jazz. But they also admit that they see and understand the Polish people's problems and that such scams are a very common thing and they don't happen only on their platforms. So yeah, kindergarten stuff. Once you catch them red-handed, it turns out it's not like that, no. They even do educational campaigns, so they can't be the bad guys, right? Identifying and deleting such content is a key objective for them. They've spent over $20 billion on that, so if anything, we should probably be grateful. Basically, everyone is guilty, but not Meta, because this is a general challenge for the global community. Overall, complete bullshit, so I barely even want to refer to it. Those interested can find the link in the description. But there's one fragment that caught my attention. Meta claims that fighting against such content requires coordination, which is why they cooperate with the government, authorities, and even experts. So, what do experts have to say about this? Seared Poland published an in-depth analysis of the whole subject on its website. The information presented by Piotr and Paweł at Oh My Hack conference is served there in a clear, convenient, and concise manner. And what should be obvious? they also put up a post on their Facebook page, encouraging folks to read and warn them about fake ads. You will absolutely never guess what happened next. Their post was very quickly deleted as Facebook considered it to be in breach of their standards. But it didn't stop at CERT. Other popular profiles tackling cybersecurity began to share the same post to amplify the situation, informing about the deletion of such important content to the community. What did Meta do? Deleted those posts as well. Of course, and in the case of one very popular page, it even went a step further. They banned the whole profile because, well, what are they going to do about it? Sure, it didn't take particularly long for the profile to be unbanned, but the disgusting aftertaste remains. Talk about cooperating and working together to improve safety, right? In all seriousness, it's pathetic how quickly warnings against scammers got the boot and how hard it is to kick out the actual scammers. The dissonance is jarring. But why does this happen? Well, I don't know, but I can take a guess. Meta makes money off of advertising. Scammers are their clients and they bring in the cash. Meta is essentially complicit in the crime. After all, it gains from others using their platform to scam and con. Okay, it might be a bold thesis, but the best way to avoid such accusation is to simply do anything to find these crimes. As you can plainly see, Meta doesn't do much of anything in that regard. It's not even willing to delete harmful content when someone serves it up to them on a silver plate. People are doing their own moderation for them. If they already skimp on hiring enough people to moderate content themselves and putting the responsibility on the users, then maybe they should actually respond to the reports. Instead, Meta doesn't give a damn. It shifts the entirety of the blame to, for example, banks. But maybe it would be worthwhile to take a look at those who actually benefit directly from these crimes and remain unpunished. Maybe Meta should be made to do so, because we do have more legal tools to help with that. EU regulations within the Digital Services Act obliged VLOPs, very large online platforms, to take responsibility for the content that they provide to their users. They have a legal obligation to fight against and block what's harmful. Something that's widely outside of my realm of competence, so I'll leave these subjects to the others. I would rather answer the question that a lot of you might have. Why am I focusing on Meta when other platforms like Twitter or LinkedIn allow the same things? I mean, it's not exactly a mitigating circumstance, but sure, I'll buy it. See, if we want to talk about the numbers and give a larger context to the whole case, a Revolut report about the types of scams they encounter helps here. What did they learn? Let's start with the fact that they directly call out Meta to pay the costs of returning the stolen money to victims. Why? For one, because among their clients, more than 60% of these scams start with Meta products, primarily Facebook, but also Instagram and WhatsApp. In Poland, this particular statistic is even worse for Meta, as we are talking about over 70%. Additionally, over the years, there has been no indication of this number dropping. Meta also doesn't want to take any responsibility for this. In Great Britain, their proposal for solving the problem is to share their data with financial institutions so they would have more avenues to fight fraud. There is not a word about actually nipping it in the bud in Meta's products because Meta prefers to wash their hands of it. This is how Jakub and Seared researchers uncovered and showcased what scammers do to fool Facebook's employees and their algorithms. Kudos to them for their incredibly hard work. I wouldn't want this to be taken the wrong way, but if they managed to do it, then Meta, with their infinitely larger budget, should too and actually solve the problem. Apparently, this isn't really something they care about, though. And that's all for today. Thank you, folks, for your attention, and see you next time.